Okay, thank you everyone for joining. We're here today to talk about how to get started with AI. And specifically today, we're going to talk about taking your first steps with Microsoft Copilot, although the method that we're going to be teaching you is actually usable with any of the freely accessible AI models like ChatGPT or Gemini. This session will be particularly useful for you if you're just a professional or a business user. You've been curious about AI, but you're not really sure where or how to get started. It might have an interest for you as well if you're a person in charge of leading AI adoption in your organization, because we will be touching upon some AI adoption principles as a part of what we're going to be teaching and explaining, and that can actually help you ease your team into using AI if this is a challenge that you're having. And if you are having that challenge, I want to start by saying that you're not alone. The reason why we've put this session together is because adoption and usage is one of the main challenges around AI at the moment. Many companies and many individuals are really struggling to pick it up and actually apply it and use it and gain benefit from it every day. I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I attended a virtual AI event. And one of the guests was a senior leader at Sainsbury's UK. If you're not from the UK, Sainsbury's is a grocery store, a big grocery store chain. And this senior leader, she was here to talk about how Sainsbury's is a leader in AI adoption, and they've invested quite a bit in it, and they've put some effort into rolling it out for their employees. Now, one of my friends works at Sainsbury's. She's in their marketing department. So I was really looking forward to talking to her about it and to finding out how she's been using it at work, because marketing is actually an area where AI is incredibly valuable and useful. But when I met her the next time and I asked her about it, I found out that not only had she never really touched AI in her life, she also was very unaware of the features and the benefits. For example, she didn't know that you could use AI for the creation of images. And this is a scenario that keeps repeating itself. Every time I speak of AI to friends or to clients, people around me who are not technical, like outside of the technical and functional consultants that I know from my work in the Microsoft space, most people are kind of aware it exists, but they don't know what it does. They've barely touched it and they don't know how to make use of it. So that's the reason why we're here today. My objective with this session is to give you a super simple, super easy method that you can start applying right now to start using AI in a way that's not overwhelming and that's actually going to be useful to you. A quick introduction. My name is Sandra Koutzenko. I am the Director of Training Services at 365 Talent Portal. And I've spent the past 10 years building talent development solutions tailored for the Microsoft space and the tech space. So a big part of that was learning solutions development and curriculum design, specifically to help people learn technology. And that means a lot of user adoption training. So that's part of my expertise. And then more recently, when AI became a thing about a couple years ago, I started to take a lot of interest in it. And I learned how to use it. And eventually I developed a course and built myself up into an AI trainer for 365 Talent Portal. So what you're going to be learning today is coming directly from what we teach people in our course to help them adopt AI. Now, there's too many people on here to do a proper spoken introduction, but I'm actually very curious about you, the people who've joined us today. And so I'd like to invite you to type in the chat a few words about those two questions. So I would love to understand, what is your main obstacle when it comes to using AI? And secondly, so you've come to this webinar, you've set 45 minutes of your time aside for a reason. So please tell me again in a few words, what would you like to have as a result at the end of this webinar? What would you like to gain from it? I'll give you just a quick minute to type. I'd love some insights. into what's brought you here. All right. And recasting lack of knowledge and knowing where to go to find the opportunities. Time consuming, yes. Okay. Lack of information and need for guidelines. How to use AI in design. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to touch upon that in depth, but that's good to know, Carla, that this is something you're interested in. Proper prompts. Trying to get users to adopt Copilot. All right, thank you so much. That's really interesting. Please keep typing if you haven't yet shared. I'll continue, but thank you so much for the insights and information. So we'll do our best to answer at least a few of those needs today. And first, so I want to talk about the key barriers to AI use to continue on this topic. You've already mentioned a few here in the chat. And so there's a list here, but essentially they can be boiled down to two main challenges that people keep encountering. The first one is that AI is very different in the way that it works to the technology that we are used to using. When you're working with AI and interacting with AI, you have to behave differently and use a different set of skills than when you're working with, say, a CRM system. It's a little tricky because AI is kind of in between machine and human in the way that it comes across. It's got a lot of, I mean, it is a machine, it is a technology, so it does have a number of repetitive machine-like behaviors, but because it can make decisions and because it can express itself with language, it also has some human-like traits, and it has been trained on human-created data as well. So it's in between, and it's not fully technology and it's not fully human. And that's the reason why people get very frustrated, because from technology, we expect repeatability and reliability, right? You go into a piece of software or any technology that you use and you follow a set of steps and you get the same results every time. Normally, that's the way it works. But with AI, it's not like that. With AI, if you ask the same thing 10 times, you're likely to get 10 at least slightly different results. And sometimes you actually can get quite a bit of breadth of results between the different answers that you're getting. And then with people, you can explain things and get yourself understood. But with AI, sometimes there are things that they will miss. And especially because AI lacks common sense and judgment, it doesn't quite behave like a human either. So a number of people try using AI and they get started and they ask a few things and they get responses that are not aligned with their expectations of technology and are not aligned with their expectations of a human. And so they get frustrated and they think that AI is completely useless and they give up. That's often the story. That's one problem. And then the second challenge that's probably the main one, and I've seen a few people talk about this, is that it's really overwhelming. Like AI, we say AI, but actually it's a really wide field. There's many AI models, there's many levels of complexity from the regular AI chats that you can access for free to highly customized agents that need connectors and APIs and all sorts of configurations to work properly. There's a lot of training materials out there. There's a lot of courses about many different topics. You've got an ocean of YouTube videos. And so if you actually want to find the few pieces of information that's available for you, it's extremely time consuming. And then it keeps changing. So you found something that works for you, you've trained yourself, and then something gets updated, and what you do is no longer valid, and you have to relearn to do it differently with the new version of AI. I actually had the case with a course we delivered last month. I updated the course right before, the week before, but the day before the course started, Microsoft launched a series of updates that actually made part of the course obsolete. So this is what we have to deal with when we are teaching and learning AI. So that means we need to be smart about how we behave, and there are some methods we can put in place to minimize those problems. But first, I want to talk about why is it worth it? And I'm hoping, if you're on this call, maybe you're already a little bit convinced, at least, of the worth of using AI. But I do want to talk a little bit about the benefits because that's something that not everybody knows about. And it's very important when it comes to using AI to be sold on the benefits and what you're going to be getting from it. So I'm personally a big fan of AI because it's made a huge difference in my work life. And I use AI in pretty much everything I do now. Obviously, not to replace what I do, but to work as a partner with me and to accelerate what I do and to bring more accuracy to my work. So the main benefit that people see with AI is time saving. You can automate certain tasks, you can accelerate others, you can actually get summaries of documents so that you don't have to read through them yourself entirely and they can be customized to your needs. You can also use this to get unstuck. If you're having a big project that you need to start and you don't know how to start, AI can help you by giving you best practices to approach a certain challenge or a certain situation. For example, we launched a podcast a few weeks ago, a little while back. We'd never done that before. And so AI was really instrumental in helping us because AI helped us understand what are the main steps you need to follow to be ready to launch your podcast. What are the things you need to have in place? What are the things you need to consider? And it gave us a structure that we could use to build our podcast launch plan. And we could have done it ourselves, but probably it would have been less accurate and it would have taken us a hell of a lot more time. I would say I probably save at least 10 hours a week by using AI. I would think maybe even more, depending on the things that I'm doing on a weekly basis. So it's incredibly time saving. But also, it can help you be more creative. AI is actually really good at things like idea generation and brainstorming. If you're looking to begin a project, and again, you've got some ideas, but they're a little bit vague or you're not too sure what to do, you can use AI to get you some ideas. And that can be used for things like ideas for a new product or service, ideas for a marketing campaign, ideas for a new sales approach. So anything that you're stuck on and you need ideas or you want to brainstorm, you can go to AI and use it for that purpose. And then another great thing that AI does is it helps you with decision making. One way is data analysis. So you can actually give AI data if you've got spreadsheets with, let's say, data about your sales, a spreadsheet that would tell you how your leads are moving through your sales pipeline. That's actually one use case we've had. You can put this into AI and ask AI to analyze that and give you data and insights and trends and help you identify the weak spots of your sales pipeline. And then based on that, AI can actually provide recommendations and insights and advice. And you can even be a little bit creative about what you ask AI because you can ask it for things like even career development advice. What's your best next career step? You give it a little bit of information about yourself and you ask it to guide you in your next career choices. So it can be an extremely useful team member for you, especially if you're working by yourself a lot. It's a great way of getting an extra set of eyes in a way. Now let's actually get started on getting things done. So this is why we're here, right? We want to know how to start. So what I'm going to show you today is the way we teach people how to start and the way that I started personally using AI. It's designed to be the lowest hanging fruit. It's designed to be simple. It's designed to be easy. And it's a method with which you can actually do pretty much everything that you would want to do with AI. Of course, some of the uses you would be able to optimize further by using a different AI tool, but this is an amazing starting point that can be really powerful and that doesn't require you to learn a lot of things. And also the thing that I really like about that is that it's not too sensitive to updates and changes. You will understand why in a second. And essentially, it's what I'm calling the glorified search engine method. And it's a super simple thing. I can summarize it in one sentence. The way that you use this is that every time you would use a search engine, you use AI instead. Now, let me explain why this is a great starting point. One of the barriers to adoption is that it requires to create new habits, and it's difficult for us to do that. This is about replacing an existing habit that we have. Every one of us, I would imagine, uses search engines daily, several times a day, probably. So that means if you do this, you will be using AI several times a day. And the way to use this is actually not all that different to using a search engine. But by that, I mean you can get started in a very similar way. So it's not a big step for you to take. And then the more you use it, the more you will actually understand how AI works, and the more you will be able to lead complex scenarios through this. So you can use this method from really simple scenarios that would be about just asking a super simple question. I'm trying to find a recent example of something that I asked today. It could be just what color is the sky, and obviously it doesn't give you a great benefit to ask the AI that. But you can actually also use these same tools to do complex product and service design and market analysis and lead analysis, like I was telling you earlier. So with this same tool, you can go from super simple use to much more complex ones progressively at your own pace. And this is why it's an amazing, amazing place to start. Why is it valuable from the beginning? It's actually much more effective than Google for things like research. And it can provide you with much more personalized results if you know how to ask things. And the way to start is very simple. You just ask questions like it's an expert in an area where you want to know things. And you can ask it to help you with challenges and ask it to help you if you're stuck. So I'm going to show you an example because that's the best way to see this. And first of all, so we'll do this with Copilot Web. So here I've taken a screenshot of how you can get to it. And the best way to get to Copilot Web is to go to your office.com account. And then on the left-hand side, you've got this little Copilot icon. And if you click it, it's going to give you access to Copilot. You can also access Copilot via bing.com. Again, you can also do this with ChatGPT or with Gemini or any other freely accessible AI tool. I do want to point out that there's some data concerns with any tool other than Copilot. So be mindful of what you upload into ChatGPT and what you upload outside of Copilot. Copilot data is protected. Microsoft has put quite a lot of safeguards in place to make sure that the data you upload into Copilot is safe. But the other AI organizations have not put as much of an onus on data protection. So be mindful of that, and you may have limitations in your organization that prevent you from using some of the other tools, especially if you're going to upload information from your company. But so this is the Copilot interface, and any other AI tool will have a similar one. It works like a chat. So you've got this message Copilot thing at the bottom, which you click and you use to enter your request. And then you've got a little attach file function at the right side if you want to give AI a file to analyze for you. So it's really easy and really intuitive to start using it. And I'll give you an example of the value, which is that, so this is a scenario. Let's imagine that I'm about to get into a sales call about an AI-related service. And I want to make sure I'm up to date with the latest AI developments so that my client doesn't happen to know more about what's happening than I do. So I want to know what are the latest developments in the AI field. And here it would be developments that affect Microsoft users, because in my scenario, I'm speaking to somebody who's in the Microsoft space. So if I ask Google first, this is the first scenario, you can see that it gives you a bunch of resources. So there's a few articles, a few reports, and then a bunch of links towards Microsoft's blog articles. And that's what interesting. But if I were to actually find my information, I would need to go and read through each of those links and skim through it and try to find a summary of what are the main points that I need to know about. That would probably take quite a bit of time. So let's see what happens if I ask Copilot instead. So this is the Copilot interface. I asked the same question. What are the latest developments in AI that affect Microsoft users? And you can see that it's giving me a summary of only 4 points that is showing me the main trends that have been happening recently. Now, this is just a quick example. You can be a lot more precise. I could ask for what are the main Copilot news in the last 3 months, and that would give me a much more accurate list of what's happened in the last 3 months. You can reply to Copilot and ask for more details about certain things. So you can do quite a bit from this. But the point is, it's probably saving me about an hour of research to do this with Copilot versus to do this with Google. That's the same thing in many scenarios. That's why it's really useful to try it. And again, every time you would use a search engine, use Copilot instead, or ChatGPT or whatever. Be aware that ChatGPT's got a knowledge cutoff point of about a year ago, so it's not going to be aware of latest developments. So this is also useful to keep in mind. That's why Copilot Web is a good tool, because it is connected to the web and it is using the web as a source of knowledge. Yes, that's what I wanted to tell you. There's another thing that's useful to know, and it's that you can install Copilot as an app on your phone. And the reason why that's really cool is that you can just tap it, open it, and you can actually use the microphone to speak into it and have Copilot search without you having to type anything. So it's actually a very nice, quick, fun, and intuitive way of using it. Now, I saw somebody in the chat earlier mention that it takes a while to really understand prompt knowledge. And that is very true. And in fact, getting a little bit of a prompt engineering course would be useful. We don't have the time in this webinar to do this. So for now, I'm just going to give you a few tips, starting tips that will not be as good as getting through a full prompt engineering model, but that can help you get started in getting good results. So first tip, if you want good results, it's good to give AI context, because the great benefit of AI is that it can make decisions and select information for you. I'll give you an example. Let's say I want AI to help me plan a day out in London. I can just ask, please help me plan a day out in London. And probably in that case, it's going to give me something similar to what's on TripAdvisor top 10 list of things to do in London, or the things that people do most often or like most. Now, what I can also do that is better is I can give information about myself, right? I could say something like, okay, so I'm a 20-year-old woman. That's not true, but I love taking pictures for my Instagram account. I love nature and walking in parks. And I really want to try to have an traditional English afternoon tea experience today. And that way, if you do this, you're going to get a list of recommendations that are actually tailored to your preferences, to who you are as a person, to what you want to do. And it's going to be much more useful for you than the generic scenario. It's the same for business-related queries. It's useful to tell AI a little bit about your business or the project you're working on if you're going to ask it to help you on it, so that it understands what is happening and it can select the right information for you and put it in a format that's useful to you. And that takes me to the second point. It's useful to tell AI what you expect as a result. Do you want it to give you a short paragraph? Do you want a bullet list? Do you want full research paper? Do you want a summary? So guide AI on the sort of results that you want, and it will give you better output. And if you want to ask AI for a complex process, it is good to ask it one thing at a time. So for example, a scenario in which I love to use AI is for product and service design. And you can use it from idea generation all the way to creating an outline. So Instead of asking AI to generate ideas and then to create an outline and then to do market research all in the same prompt, it's better to do it one at a time. So you can start by, for example, asking AI, can you generate ideas for an AI course for beginners? What sort of course could I give? And then you can ask AI to dig deeper into one of the ideas and give you a high-level outline. And then you can ask AI to do market research and identify whether there's a market gap for this particular idea, product, or service. But every time, let AI respond and then ask another question. It tends to deal with it better. AI doesn't deal very well with very complex requests at the moment. It's probably going to get better because it does every time. But that's something that we've learned and that I would recommend. So I would like to give you a few examples now, because that's also something that people find they miss when it comes to using AI. Okay, I know how, but I don't really have any ideas of what would be scenarios in which I can use it. Like I don't have the reflex, I don't have the habit. What can I do with it? So I've put on this slide a few examples of ways in which we've used AI very successfully. So one that I just listed is product or service ideation. You can use, if you're someone who does marketing, you can use AI to help you create a persona profile for your ideal client. You just give AI a little bit of information. And actually, you can even ask AI, if you've never done that before, to give you best practices for creating a persona profile and guide you through the process and ask you questions to help you come up with the information to create the profile and then create the profile for you. So you can see it as a bit of an expert in something. For example, if you need something done on the marketing side, you can ask AI to behave like a marketing expert and just ask it the same questions that you would ask a marketing expert. Same for generating social media post ideas. So you can give it information about what sort of social media posts you want to create, what kind of person it's for, and then you can ask it to just generate topic ideas. I would not recommend actually using AI to write the posts entirely for you, because you've probably seen it. So many people do it. AI writes in a very non-human way, and it's quite obvious when somebody uses AI to create copy entirely without any sort of human intervention. And it seems it's a little cliche, it lacks soul, and it lacks that compelling element that we can add ourselves as humans. So do not use AI to write your articles entirely for you, but you can use it to generate ideas and to generate outlines for your posts and give you the main points and help you do the research behind it and save you a great deal of time from a scenario where you would have to do it all yourself. You can ask AI to help you understand how something works. You can ask AI for career advice as well. You can tell it a little bit about yourself. You can upload your CV. You can ask it to give you advice on where you should go next from where you are. Best practices for doing something, starting a project, and even fixing bugs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop this screen. And I'm just going to show you a few examples of requests. Let me find the right window. Here, okay. No, absolutely not here. This one. Okay, so this is my live Copilot window. And I'm just going to show you a few examples of prompts and how Copilot responds. And so these are very simplified prompts. And it's true that if we were into a more of a prompt analysis, prompt engineering course, I would do things a little bit differently. But it's to show you that even if you're not a prompt expert, you can actually get decent results from AI and Copilot. For example, let's say, so I'm a Microsoft 365 admin for my company. So that's actually my reality. I'm by default Microsoft 365 admin, not because I'm trained to be one, but because I'm the one who knows the most. But it means that sometimes there's things in Microsoft 365 that I don't know how to do. So here, my scenario is, I've never actually assigned a Power BI license before. Please tell me how. And there you go. It actually gives you all of the steps. You sign in, you go to billing session, you select the licenses, you select your license, you assign it. It's step by step. And there's one neat thing you can do that I'm not going to do right now because we don't have the time, but you can actually ask Copilot to walk you through this step by step, give you the steps one at a time, and continue when you say you're done. And the reason why this is great is because if you get stuck on one step, you can ask additional questions about that particular step, and AI will get you. Like, let's say if it tells you to do this, but actually I can't actually find the license, or I don't know which license I need, then when it gives me step 3, I can ask for additional information. And again, this is like I'm working with a Microsoft 365 expert and I'm asking that person to help me. So think of it in that way, right? This is your expert that can help you do things you don't know how to do. I'll give you a new example. I'll start a new chat. So I want to move my career to the AI space. Can you tell me what will be the most in-demand AI skills in the next 5 years? And if you wanted here, you could actually upload your CV and ask AI to give you advice based on your CV. I'm not going to do that again, lack of time, but this is even better because then you would get personalized advice based on your experience and the skills you have, etc., your interests. And here you can see it's giving you a bunch of things that you can use. But again, you'll get much better results on queries like this one if you give the AI information about yourself. And then I will just show you the product design idea. You will do new chat. So I want to create a new AI training course. Can you please generate 5 ideas for what courses would be in demand right now? So again, that's very, very simple prompts. You can do a lot better, but it gets you started and it gets you good ideas. So there you go. Cool ideas. Actually, AI for business leaders. That's really nice ideas. Ethics and responsible AI in healthcare, AI in cybersecurity. And what you can do, that's also a really good way to work with AI, is you can ask AI to clarify its reasoning for some of its suggestions. For example, let's say if I wanted to build an ethics and responsible AI course, so it tells you a little bit, but you could ask more. You could ask it to clarify the reasoning. You could ask it to perform a market analysis on this and who would be the sort of clients who would want to buy this and check if it's aligned with what you're looking for. So you can dig deeper into this and use this conversation a little bit, again, like an expert consultation. So those are just a few examples. There's a great deal more that you can do with this method, massive potential. And the best way that you can learn is by experimenting. And I'm sharing the wrong presentation again. It seems to be a pattern today. Let's go. So this is the one I want. Okay, so yes, we've seen example scenarios. So now, how to get results? Because I know that it's a concern for a number of people that it's hard to get results when you don't have a lot of knowledge. But I hope that with these few examples, I've demonstrated, at least to an extent, that you can get impactful, useful results with simple questions without being a super expert prompt engineer. So the few tips I want to share with you. First of all, build the use of AI as a habit intentionally. The way I got started, it was also a bit difficult for me at first, even though I was super enthusiastic. I started by setting myself a challenge. And again, the first one was, okay, every time I would use a search engine, I use AI instead, and forcing myself every time I open Google to go, nope, not Google, let me go into Copilot. And at first it may sound silly and it may seem like it's going to be faster to just Google your question, but this is how you create the habit. And the more you use AI, the more you will understand the strengths and weaknesses. And there's a big part of trial and curiosity and experimentation that comes into succeeding. Because, like I said, AI makes decisions. It's not like the regular type of software. And so a big part of adopting it is understanding the reasoning behind it, understanding how it reasons, understanding how it brings data together, understanding how it responds to the words that you say. And sometimes it's going to take a tiny word and you'll see that in the response, it's over-interpreted the need for that word. So that's the best way to learn. You need to make yourself test scenarios and make it fun. Sometimes it's actually really fun to see what AI comes up with. And that was one of the big motivators for me, was to go, oh, I wonder what AI would make of this. I wonder what AI would think of this situation. So create a little bit of curiosity, make it fun for yourself, but also be patient. When you get bad results, try to ask in a different way. Because sometimes it's that the way you phrase your requests is not well understood by the AI. And if it really doesn't work, that's okay. It can't do everything yet, but keep trying with a new scenario. And the more you do this, the more you will find the areas where it can really help you. Now, I see that people are asking about prompts and about the Copilot course. I'm going to get to that in a second. First of all, I just want to reinforce this idea of breaking AI adoption barriers. So the first one is what we've talked about: build it as a habit, be curious, experiment. But also focus on the uses that are most useful to you right now. It's really discouraging, and it was for me as well, to go through tons of training courses that you spend like 20 or 30 minutes watching a video and you don't have anything at the end that you can apply to your work life. So that's why this method is useful, is because you can actually select the scenarios that are most useful to you. And those are the ones where it's useful spending a bit of time trying to figure out how AI can help you. So work from your scenarios rather than from videos posted by people that may or may not bring you something. And one of the most powerful things you can do if you're looking to learn AI is to find the right training course and something that is actually adapted to you and your objectives. So this is the time where I tell you about our program, and I'm really grateful to the person in the chat who asked about it. So yes, to answer your question, Imogen, we do teach the art of prompting. So this is the outline of our course, which is about practical skills for non-tech teams. And it's designed to dive deeper into all of the concepts that we've touched upon today, and getting you started with AI in a way that is useful to you. So we're really not focused on teaching you a bunch of theoretical skills. The idea of the course is to take regular business users who are struggling to adopt AI and give you tools, knowledge, and methods so that you can find the scenarios in your role that you're going to actually be using and get the tools to actually roll them out. That's essentially the idea. We also work a little bit about the mindset and the things I was telling you, getting towards AI with curiosity and with a little bit of patience and a bit of a scientist mindset. So we teach you more about how to do this and get results. We start with, well, actually, what I just taught you, we do this at the start of the course. We talk about AI a little bit, so we give you a bit of an understanding of what it is exactly, what it's not, what it's good at, what it's not good at, to save you frustrations trying to do things with it that it's actually not meant to be doing. So you can really understand where it can benefit you. Then we go with getting started with AI and the methods you can follow to take your first small steps into it. And then we do have a whole module about the art of prompting, which teaches you how prompts work, what should go in them, and then different scenarios where you can use simple prompts, scenarios where you should use more complex prompts, and then how to use the whole chat with AI as a prompt landscape to get better results. Then we talk about Copilot in Microsoft 365, and essentially we go through all of the tools, all of the Copilots in Microsoft 365, and we teach you fundamental skills. And then we also teach you to identify your scenarios where these tools will be useful for you and how to roll them out. We have a little bit about using AI for image creation because it's actually a really fun use. So we teach you how to build prompts for images and how to get good results for images you can use this in business. Then we have a whole business scenario so that you can practice everything you've learned into one situation. That's actually something that the people, the attendees, say brings them the most value because it brings all the knowledge together and it gets you to apply it in a business setting. Then we spend a little bit of time on refining your adoption plan so that you know exactly how you're going to be using AI daily. An AI advocate, that's an optional module, and it's if you're in a company that's looking to adopt AI and struggling, we can actually help you learn how to be an AI advocate within your company. But that's something we can add or remove based on the need. It's so the course lasts 12 hours. It can be delivered on site or virtually. And we can do this for up to 12 learners. The cost is £499 per person. And right now we're offering this on a private session basis, which means that this would be for companies who have a team that they want to train. However, if you're here as an individual and you would like to take this course, please let us know, because if we have enough interest for individuals to run a course, a cohort of the course, then we can actually do that and plan a date for it. So we need a minimum of 7 people to run a class, which means that out of you, if there's 7 who want to commit, we could run it on an open schedule basis. So these are a few links you can use to contact us and find out more about what we do. I'll send that over to everybody who's registered alongside with the recording. So you'll be able to see the details of our course through the first link. And then there's 2 email addresses that you can use to reach out to us if you want to ask about AI adoption, training. So even if it's not about specifically this course, but you want more help with your AI journey, you have a question you want to ask, please contact us. And in the meantime, before we close, we've got a couple of minutes. So if you've got questions you'd like me to answer now, please type them in the chat. I'm just going to check if there were any other questions before that I haven't answered. No. Okay, it looks like there are no questions. If any come to you after this webinar, just please, like I said, reach out, use this information. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you, and I wish you all a very successful rest of the day.